have a, I guess, do we have the form? Yeah. All right. At discretion of the chair, we're going to skip to number 4.
Public comment.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment. You got to start with that. Is there any public comment today? Apparently not, so we will skip to number 4. See, a well-informed, efficient chairperson already invented this.
You run the way the shortest meeting ever.
So, as far as...
Now we can start with number 3.
I'm going to start with number 3. We're pleased to have the new Main Street manager, Nick Price, with us today, replacing Mark Ratcliffe, who we worked with for years, relationship with and so on. So, Michelle, do you want to take it from here?
I was going to turn it over to Nick and ask if he wants to give an update. I know there's been a lot of West Reading businesses in the news lately. Do you want to kind of give an overview of like your first 6 months on the job, and then
Yeah, first,
you're welcome to come sit at the table.
okay. First 6 months, it's been a lot of fun actually. Kind of the transitioning, getting to know everybody, kind of going from a prior career of 21 years and then kind of going in and you're learning government, you're learning businesses, you're learning kind of all the players, but it's been good. Obviously recently we were on the news, we've had some challenges there like everyone's had with the roads, with the economy. We've had a couple businesses closed, but I kind of look more on the positive that maybe it's just a new fresh start. You know, I'm coming in as the new guy. Obviously a couple businesses have closed, but there'll be some new ones that come in. So kind of looking positive toward the end of the summer into the fall. I think once we get the roads paved there, it's going to ease some tension of the businesses. They're not going to hear, I know when I'm in there and you're hearing saw cutting for hours upon hours. If you're sitting there in your business and you're there all day and it's not a busy day and you're hearing that saw, it just kind of gets you a little upset at times. I know I've been there trying to have meetings and things like that. So I think once that's all behind us, we get by the dregs of summer here coming July and August, I think things are going to turn there. And I'm excited. Art on the Avenue, we did amazing. You know, a festival of that size, you bring that many people in, there's always so many variables, but the little problems we had that day were so minor, we could just tackle them right on the spot. So I think when I reached out to Mark and I knew the position was available, he said West Reading was a well-oiled machine, and I'm seeing that. So it's, you know, having that behind me makes my job, you know, easier to move forward because I don't have a lot of resistance that I have to fight every day. I have a government that is, you know, has my back. I have an amazing board, so it does make things easier for me. But you know, there's challenges that we face every day, and I said in an interview the other day with FMZ that the businesses they'll face adversity right at it. They'll come right at it. So it's been a good 6 months. I have to say I've been happy with, you know, where I started, where we're at now, and the future. So.
As far as the restaurant closures and stuff, so pardon me, the Grandi family is doing Say Cheese, is that correct?
Correct, they are. Yeah, they.
What are their intentions?
Well, that's
another Italian place, or
they don't know yet. That's funny because Art on the Avenue, Tina called me over and I was talking to her and I said, you know, what are you guys gonna do with it? She just kind of like grabbed my arm. She's like, we don't know. She's like, it came up so fast we couldn't. You know, the opportunity was there, and they knew if it went public, you know, there could be a bidding war for that building because it had the rental units and it was established. So I asked her, I said, what are you going to name it? And she says, I don't know. Do you have a name? So I think it all came up so fast. I actually was in there this week. I had another meeting. We got done and we saw that they were in there. We went in. So I think right now they're just focused. You know, they wanted to secure the property, she said, but I haven't really heard what they're going to do. I mean, obviously it's going to be some form of a restaurant, but I don't know. Is it going to be higher end? Is it going to be, you know, I don't know that they know yet, but I'm glad that they did buy it and I did tell them because just working with them, I've known them, I grew up with them, they went to Wilson like me, so I've known them for years, so being how good they are to work with now with their other businesses, I think they'll, whatever they do, it'll have success.
and is there any movement at all down the street at the Nitro / Motor Club?
I haven't heard anything on it. I mean, I know it's obviously closed right now. I've heard that it's for sale. I've tried to look nothing in the multi-lis, nothing on LoopNet, so I don't know if it's just private right now, but, you know, somebody will come along. I mean, that one's probably a little more of a challenge because they opened it in September. It never, you know, I would talk with Adam, I'd see him in passing, and I know that, you know, it didn't, Nitro was there a couple of years, but I don't think the motor club really took off the way they thought it would, so to come in there without really a staff, without really a following, it's going to be a challenge for somebody, but I do think somebody will come in. It's a beautiful building. It'll find a use.
Are there any other anticipated openings? Anything with note?
And we have one this weekend, which is Origin, which is a hair salon. They're actually next to where Noodle was. Noodle does have a Colombian restaurant coming in. I'm not sure when that is. We just had a couple of the Winnie Mochi, the bubbly tea places open up. So we're, you know, kind of seeing stuff that it's turning away, you know, what we're seeing, like the Sugar Shack just came in, which is kind of like a Port Clinton peanut shop type place. I mean, I took my sons there. It has, you know, the candy cigarettes, all the little novelty stuff. But, you know, something like that, it's nice to see a mixture of that because that may bring in families, may bring in a younger group than just having brew pubs or things of that sort. So Willow Creek, I know they're closed. They're actually, Tinsel and Twig is moving in there. They were around the corner. It's kind of like a small home furnishings type business. But, you know, the thing is we have vacancies. I mean, it's common in small business, but it seems like when one place goes, another one just moves right in. That I don't walk the avenue and see 5 or 6 for sale signs. It seems like they go, you know, somebody's closing up, somebody else comes in.
And the Broken Chair place also?
They did as well. I actually never met them. Every time they were only really open, you know, smaller hours towards the end of the week. But my understanding was he had a full-time job and got promoted, and it just trying to do that. So, you know, what's going to go in there at that, I don't know at this point. But I think, you know, somebody will move in. It'll change it.
How about the Schweitzer's gas station?
Schweitzer's, as far as I know, I went in there to see if they would let us put porta potties for Art on the Avenue, and I walked in and the guy looked at me and he just said no. And that was it. That was the extent of the conversation. so I was like, okay, have a nice day. The borough's in the process of purchasing it. I don't know the exact date. I've been in contact with Ryan Lineweaver, the borough president, because we're, hopefully if they're not doing any kind of construction, we'll utilize that for Fall Fest. But I mean, their intent, I think, is, I've seen different things that they want to do with it. One was like kind of doing a little park with an amphitheater. The other one would just be parking. I think that one's probably the easiest to do because it probably will require a lot less. And parking is needed, and I think putting parking down that way, it'll help like that 400 or 500 block, because a lot of people, if they come in now, they come all the way up. If they don't do the parking lot, they go up to the McDonald's and they park there, and then they all kind of linger in that little 2-block radius. So maybe having parking there, if you're coming in from kind of that Exeter way, taking the highway, you'll come in, you grab that first parking, and then you'll kind of walk that 4-block radius instead of just lingering in that 700 and 600 block. It seems like the 500 and 400 kind of get neglected, so it may help a little bit down there.
Also, getting a hold of that property was part of our strategic plan for West Reading, for the redevelopment in that area, and if Chip Lloyd ever redevelops his area too. It's a whole strategic plan that the borough has accepted.
Good.
Do you want to
How
talk
about
about?
how about the cigar club, if you will?
Legacy.
How's that doing?
It's. I mean, from what I see, it's doing pretty good. I mean, they have entertainment a couple nights a week. They've been there now. I don't think it's been a year, but I mean, Rick and Adrian, we hold our monthly business meetings there. They've been great. They're helping out. We have a thing we're doing coming in August. High school teachers are coming in, and they're going to work with some of the businesses and kind of mimic and learn small business. And they're one of the businesses that are going to help out. And then the teachers will take what they learn from small business and then relay that in the classrooms come fall time. So I think they're doing. I think they're doing good. You know, they, like our other businesses. You know, we have other competing businesses in their competition. They don't. You know, they're kind of the only cigar place, but I know, you know, at least a couple nights a week they have entertainment, different things. So they're trying. You know, nothing that they've said to me that they're concerned or anything of that nature. But I know that they put a lot of money into the property. And then Adrian told me the basement, they're going to be redoing that into like an entertainment space, so they can actually do like larger if you wanted to book it for an event or something like that. So
Yeah, Rick told me months ago they made their goal And they have, I guess, 40 to 50 private lockers. They were sold out very quickly, and then he added more. So the private area is doing well. The food is getting better. Adrian and Rick are a dynamic couple. Adrian actually has a degree in economics and is a teacher of economics at Alvarez and a motivational speaker on top of that.
Wow.
So they're, you know, she's from Philly, he's from LA. So I'm hoping they do really well because they really did bite off a big thing.
Yeah.
I've been there a bunch of times. And I don't smoke cigars.
I was gonna say.
Do you wanna, kind of, when you talk about the Main Street program itself at all? And where you're at with the businesses?
You can handle that.
So we reformed our business promotions committee, and that's the one we run the second Fridays. There was when I took over, there was,
Turmoil?
yeah, I think I cleaned it up pretty good,
Yes.
pretty quickly. For whatever reason, you know, I tried to figure out, I mean, the business owners, when I met them, being in real estate for over 20 years, I kind of said to them, like, I know what it's like to be a 1099, to not have a paycheck some days, or to leave a settlement and realize they may not have a check for who knows when. So, you know, I worked in the restaurant industry for 10 years, so I think they kind of realized, like, I kind of get some of the things that they go through. I know what it's like to, you know, realize you don't have a check every 2 weeks. But there was some, you know, things brewing that I inherited, but I feel like in 6 months I've cleaned it up. I mean, Mark would tell you know, and some of the ones who were really the nastiest tried to be that way with me, and I think they realized, like, I don't mean to swear, but I'm not gonna take their, you know what, you know, just, that's not my nature. I'm not there to spend, you know, the first 6 months of my job fighting with people and then being like, I got nowhere, you know, what am I doing? Or, you know, I'm driving in one day and there they are, you know, on the internet complaining, and it's like, well, you know, I want to drive in there every day and be positive. Go in there every day and be like, how can this get better? What can we do to work? You know, we're not going to fight, we're going to unite. And they're starting to see that. And even, you know, one of my biggest critics, who was biggest thorn on the side to our foundation, he said he wanted to hate me and he just can't. You know, he's like, I wanted to. He even said it didn't matter who was replacing Mark. I wanted to hate him, and I was like, well, you're not going to get that with me. So. Yeah, so things are a lot. I think they're turning around. I think things are getting better. I mean, part of my role is being that buffer with them and the government, and our local officials are just, they're amazing. I mean, there's no resistance I get from them on anything. So knowing they're always going to support it, I'm kind of the middleman, and I think they're starting to see it. I think we're coming out of the tail end of this construction. I understand there's days they were sitting in there, you know, nobody comes in for 2-3 hours. It's slow. They're hearing the saws. They're, you know, seeing the no parking, and they want to just blame somebody. But, you know, I've kind of taken that different approach, that we're not going to point fingers. We're not going to fight with each other. I'm not here to do that. I don't need that. You know, nobody needs that. So it seems to be better. But yeah, I came into a lot. I'll say that.
Timeline on the construction, the completion on the roadway with everything, so it's like where it's supposed to be.
My last update was hopefully the end of June. They did, if you know, when you come down the avenue, they did the main cuts there. Then they were working on the side streets. From what I was last told, we were looking at the end of this month, hopefully that they're done. I don't know if that has changed. I mean, my update was about a month ago. Once they get done doing all the side work, then UGI has a 60-day, I guess, wait period, because they don't want to go and pave roads and then have a problem and dig up the fresh macadam. So optimistically, we're hoping they're on time and they start paving around the end of August. And my understanding, they're doing, I think it's 2 inch of milling curb to curb, so that whole avenue will be a fresh, it won't just be patchwork, it'll be a whole new avenue. Hoping by Fall Fest it's all done. I know for us with the festivals, with Crown Pretzel and Art on the Avenue, they were good with getting their stuff off and having it ready for us. But, you know, I know in the 500 block at Art on the Avenue, there was so much tar, like, if you literally put your feet on it, it's stuck. So it's, you know, that's not fun when you have that many people on that heat. But hopefully by Fall Fest, it's a whole new road and it's behind us. And, you know, maybe that was the tipping point. Maybe, you know, the construction, the economy, the things brewing with the businesses. Maybe that'll be kind of I don't want to say rock bottom, but the point where we can kind of turn things. And as I said in the fall, I think once that gets done, you know, we can kind of really move forward more.
There was some notes in the newspaper about the structure of the bridge, building, knock it down. What's the options on there?
That actually went by it last night. I was coming home from somewhere in the city and it went by, and they've already, it's probably half down now. I know when the explosion happened, they said building moved 4 feet or something like that. And then I don't know if the owner kind of wasn't as receptive maybe as the other owners in the area, and it kind of just sat there for a while, and then now they've started the demolition. So hopefully, I think they said, Chad Moyer zoning said, you know, they knock everything down, but then they kind of go through and piecemeal everything of you know, where it goes. So that'll take, you know, some time. But as far as I know, it's in the process of being
So
done.
it's on residential or commercial?
That one I don't know. I'm gonna say probably it is a commercial down there because of everything around it. If not, it's probably a mixed use because I know they're residential. So
Because there were people living in it, I guess.
yeah, there were people in it. I don't know what was on that first floor, but there were people. So what, you know, what the long-term use, I don't know.
I remember back in the day that used to be Lafayette Electronics.
But,
So I used to go down there.
West Riding's also in the process. I had invited Phil Wart to attend, but he's on vacation this week. Normally you're a tag team. So hopefully he can attend the July meeting. West Riding is in the process of making some zoning changes.
Yeah.
They're trying to get away from typical zoning code and move more towards form-based code. And I know that area, my understanding, was one of the reasons they were looking to do that, is to, you know, allow different things to happen in that area because of what happened in Palmer not coming back.
And right now, trying to rewrite form-based codes is probably one of the dullest things Phil's actually doing, but he's putting the time in as Borough Council is, and hopefully they will have that done quite soon, so.
Knowing Phil, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nick, I mentioned to Mark the other week, the Assistant Secretary of State Economic Development.
Deputy Secretary. Well, Nick was there for part of that.
Well, towards it, you weren't up at Kimberton now?
I was up there, yeah.
Oh, were you? Did you happen to hear the owner of Kimberton tell him that he was amazed of how well the working relationship was between West Reading and Wyomissing? And then I chimed in and said, what George Haynes had said, that usually Equus has shied away from multi-municipality projects because it's just a royal headache. And he said it's never gone as smoothly as all the projects are between the two. And this guy from the state, he said a lot of people would really take some lessons, especially Western Pennsylvania, from what you people are doing here. So, you know, and what he quoted to the paper, which the paper got it correctly, was correct. You know, that, you know, what we're doing, the two municipalities together is paying off, and it has.
Yeah, no, I think it's important because we're neighbors. You know, if we spend years fighting, we blink, and then where do you begin? You know, you spend all your energy fighting with everyone for the last 2-3 years, and buildings have become, you know, dilapidated, things like that. I hate to reference the city, but you know, you could end up like that. You know, that this quarter could be, you know, I was in there driving my son to City Park last night for basketball. Got canceled once we got in there, which was fun to find out. But you know, we're in there and it's, you know, 6:30 at night, and we're right at 5th and Penn. I'm like, you know, looking around, I'm like, how is this possible? Because I remember it as a kid, and we grew up there, and my dad walking to American Bank every day, and you know, you blink and you're like, what? How did this happen? So West Reading, the way it's been, and Wyomissing, you know, if there wasn't that, you know, what would VF be? Would we still be sitting looking at vacant buildings years later because, you know, the council here doesn't know what to do with them, or they're fighting with them? So I think it just the flow, but I think it's important because if we don't get along, you know, there could end up, you know, the nice things we have today could be gone. So
The only thing I'd like to tease Mark about, I just thought, would you tell the media that Drexel is in Wyomissing?
yeah, they.
No, I think our working relationship is phenomenal.
So what's the the new story on the pickleball parking area?
When I was watching the news, I mean, I guess they needed it because it did, you know, looking at the pictures, it adds more, but my grandparents live on the 700 block, and you always have the trucks from Russell Plywood, then you have the towing. Where they live, it's not as much of a big deal because they look out into the open space where the sewer plant is, but as you get further up there, you know, with those cars now angled like that and there's trucks coming by and the towing, I mean, the towing, if it's, you know, all hours, but I know with Russell Plywood, they have those big flatbeds with, so what I saw the picture on the news and the yellow line and now the cars, I'm like, that's, you know, those trucks are gonna be going over the yellow line and that's a recreation area. You do have a lot of people with bikes and different things like that don't always be on the trail, so I can see why they did it, but I, you know, could be some concerns with those trucks.
Well, moving forward, as Bill mentioned, we had the assistant or the deputy secretary of DCPD and had a very good tour of the block over here. I actually spoke with John Connors from Brookstone yesterday about there was a party that expressed interest in an ice cream place and wanted to get a phone connection, and apparently Brookstone did not return the call yet. And I was told that that was because they will be returning the call. They understand the importance of that. Bottom line is they have 2 more letters of intent out now to fill in more spaces, so I don't know what kind of uses those are yet. But that block, after all these years, looks like it's going to be completed in the very near term. So we have that going. We have the stuff over at the knitting mills with Kimberton and Sly Fox and so on. So it just seems like it begs further cooperation between West Reading and us.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you given any thought to what the future might be able to bring? I mean, could we have a joint Main Street thing or something? I mean, I want to take advantage of the momentum.
Well, I know when Woody was involved here, that was an idea he had. And also, you know, Michelle sits on task force, which is called the West Reading Task Force. Believe me, Wyomissing is represented there by Michelle, myself, basically living in the borough but doing West Reading. There's a lot we want to do together, and it just makes the greatest amount of sense because we could probably get grants that could benefit both boroughs at one time. And if we work in unison, yeah, we really would like to see that occur. I mean, there are some people still in West Reading, they think the dividing line's the dividing line. But to people who are thinking forward, there is no line there at all.
There are some people still ticked off about the school district thing. I mean,
That's just a few years old, man.
Fred, Mark Ratcliffe and I think it was 2019, he had come to one of our economic development meetings to give an update, and then he and I spent the morning going up and down Penn Avenue in Wyomissing, talking to business owners about if Wyomissing would start a Main Street program, would there be interest? And there didn't seem to be a lot, so what we've continued to talk about is more streetscape improvements, so mirroring what Penn Avenue's doing with streetlights, with benches, with trash cans. And there are the multimodal grants out there, which is the same grant program we got funding for 4th Street through. There's the DCE version of that, which requires no match, and then there's the PennDOT version of that, which requires a 30% match. So I mean, something I would think would make sense moving forward is for us to go in with a joint application, and it could be everything from sidewalk replacement, street trees, lighting, trash cans, benches, bike racks. It's, maybe we talk about that at the July meeting or whenever our next.
Well, I just sent you the date, it's
Thank you.
August.
Oh, okay, good, then I'm not worried it's not on my calendar. We could talk about that at the next
Yeah.
meeting, but I mean, the first step would be actually identifying what are we doing, where are we doing it, and then putting a cost estimate together, which we have time. That program doesn't open until spring of next year at this
I
point.
mean, the one thing, if we, and I shouldn't bring it up here, but if we could do it, some sort of walking bridge from Drexel Head over this way to get the people from the high school at lunch and everything.
Senator Schwenk actually asked me about that at the,
I pitched it to her and to the secretary.
yeah, I mean, that, even just a footbridge is about 5 million,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
I'll plant the money tree tomorrow.
but a pedestrian slash bicycle thing is absolutely necessary to tie the medical school in.
And believe me, they want to be tied in. They really want to be part of the community. It's just part of the Drexel mentality.
Well, I know that, and I reached out to some folks at Tower about getting us reconnected with John Fry from Drexel.
That's not hard to do.
He's has been very successful in making things happen, so I think his involvement would be important. The other thing that I've always been obsessed with is trying to make sure that we get the passenger train to Philadelphia over to Wyomissing and not ending in Reading. Reading, in my estimation, is the current version of the magic bullet that's going to save downtown Reading. It used to be all we needed was Al Bosco to open a department store in Penn Square and all would be well. I mean, those things just don't happen.
Well, I was
It
with,
has to happen organically, and my economic development theory has always been built from strength. And the strength is here. And we've accomplished a great deal. We've had, what is it, Michelle, 10 or 12, it's about $500 million worth of redevelopment work between Wyomissing Square and the
In a
Hitting
5
Mills
block radius.
yeah, and
some of the apartment complexes and so on. So there's been a great deal of success here. And then taking advantage of the good work that West Reading has accomplished, the near part of Spring Township. I mean, this is where things have happened. And the railroad is a major investment. And to maximize the effect of that investment needs to get over here, not end at a place that's all speculation. As Nick just indicated, if you drive up and down Penn Street, a train to Philadelphia is not going to be the magic wand. When you look at what's there, it's going to be decades until they get their zoning changes to try to create transit-oriented development and so on. It's going to be a long time. And in the meanwhile, I think we need to make an effort to open their eyes to the fact that it needs to come over here. I've spoken to the county commissioners well, I've spoken to them, they know well what I think, the Chamber of Commerce and everything else. And they all nod and say, yeah. And I don't like the fact that there seems to be an attitude of, oh, that would just be the rich getting richer or something like that. That's nonsense. I mean, it will help Reading, but it has to happen because there's a reason for it to happen. And the way the intersection, interchange with the West Shore bypass is constructed just creates an enormous gap. All the studies we've had over the years indicate that people will walk about 2 blocks, and that's more than 2 blocks. When you add that in, and then the length of the bridges as well. So it needs to happen because it is the right thing to happen, not because some deep thinkers believe that it needs to be done this way. So I am going to continue to make that effort, and having West Reading join into us with making that case, I think would be very helpful.
I think the city, there's not, we tried, I have 3 boys, we tried to go in there and patronize and do things, but there's like nothing. You know, we went into we've been to Saucony Creek, we've taken them there, but I'm thinking, you know, if I'm going to a Phillies game tonight or something, I'm gonna take the train, if anything, we're gonna probably stop in West Reading because there's more to do there, and then go and park our car, get on the train. By the time we come home from that game, it's, 10:30 tonight, we're coming right home. It's kind of like when you go in for an event to the arena, there's just nothing around it. You go in there, you park, you go right to that arena for a concert or something, but there's nothing that I can park and walk to and hit up this restaurant, they don't have, what you have in West Reading, it's already in place. It's not like you go in there in a 5th and Penn that's been sitting there vacant for 20 years. It's not like you can go in there and patronize, grab dinner, then go get on the train. then go to that concert or that Eagles game or whatever reason you're going to Philly. I look at it as you're just gonna have people come in there, they're gonna park, they'll probably get the revenue on the parking, they're gonna go to Philly, spend money there, come back and get in their car and come right home. There's nothing to really, if the train's leaving at 6 o'clock at night, there's no reason to get in there before that. It seems like there's just nothing around it either.
All you need to know is that the peanut bar doesn't even open till 4 o'clock now.
Yeah, they have limited hours too.
Well, I was with John Fry about a month ago, and we walked out of med school together. And I had met him 10 years ago because a group of us went down to Drexel on urban development. And at that point, he didn't understand why Reading wouldn't come back. And I said, well, there's a river and a bridge, and that sort of stymies things. But in Philadelphia, a river and a bridge don't mean a damn thing. But we walked out, and we were discussing the trains and how vital they are. And he goes, when they put the train station right over there, that's going to be the biggest epic. I go, it's not going there. He goes, where's it going? I go, Center City, Reading. He goes, big mistake. So he's a good guy. I can get in touch with him.
Well, please do. As I've said, I've spoken to some folks at Tower, and Tower's got their hands full with a lot of other
Eater's the
things.
guy there. Dan Eater would be the guy there.
That's who I've spoken to. And Tower's just got a lot of stuff on your plate, so I understand that. But on the other hand, not only is there the obvious Drexel thing with being across the street from 30th Street Station in Philly, but next door to Drexel is Penn. Reading Hospital now has a relationship with Penn. I had a heart valve replaced, and there was a doctor from Penn in the room when they did it. They've got a strong relationship, and we need to leverage that. So talk, if you can get a hold of him, please do, and we'll go talk. See what we can do.
Yep. He's a man of, you gotta have all your ducks in a row when you're speaking to him. It isn't, he moves quickly.
I'm well aware. He's been in this room. We've spoken with him, but it's been a few years. Too many. All right. Anything else in West Reading and everything else that we've talked about here today? If not, I'd like Michelle to give us some update on some of our, what we call our properties of interest. The Inn at Reading is well underway, and there's some rehab work being done over at Crown Plaza.
You're stealing my thunder, Fred.
Say that again?
You're stealing my thunder.
All right, well, then I'll shut up.
The Inn at Reading is under construction, so to speak. So the initial plan is to take the D&E wings and allow them to open as effectively studio apartments. I know Mike Shervonic, the owner, his target date is hopefully early fall, end of summer. The Berkshire Mall, which I know is normally a frequent topic of discussion at these meetings, is under agreement for the entire property to be purchased. Fred and I met with a local developer that is the party to that agreement 2 weeks ago, I think. I've since had additional contact from them. They do have an 18-month due diligence process, so there's a lot that they need to work through. I have a meeting with them, I believe Monday morning, to talk through some additional questions that they had. Outside of that, Chris, I actually wanted to talk to you after this meeting about, there's a lot of concerns related to the property, but there's a specific concern that was brought up this week as part of fire safety inspections. I think everyone's well aware there's been a significant amount of sinkholes opening up on the property, which new property management has gotten better about responding to sooner than later. But the observation this week is, if you're standing in the parking lot adjacent to Woodland Road, you can look down and see a line of storm sewer drains, and you can clearly see the beginning of a depression forming all the way down the line, which is not surprising, being that it's corrugated metal pipe that at this point is over 50 years old. They've taken several chunks out that were rusted with a bunch of holes in them on the property elsewhere that were forming sinkholes. So we collectively, between Chris, myself, McCarthy, the fire chief, and Kraft, are putting our heads together. The primary problem is I can't find a recorded plan, I can't find a subdivision or land development ordinance that was in place when that mall was developed. I can't find a stormwater management ordinance that was in place when that mall was developed. So short of one section in the property maintenance code that I think may apply, I don't know what we can do to deal with that specific incident, but that's why I want to talk to you after the meeting. Other than that, the initial conversation with the local developer that is the party to the agreement, no residential, strictly commercial, and that's mainly because of the economy, between interest rates, construction costs. They can't make the numbers work to put any type of residential on that property, at least as of now. So it sounds like there would be selective demo, keep certain pieces of it, new development for the others. I know, I kind of made a sad face at that too. So I will keep the committee posted as those conversations progress. The Sheraton, Crown Plaza, Radisson, whatever you want to refer to it as, it is confirmed there are construction, bless you. There are construction workers in there and working. They are still claiming it's gonna come back as this Reading Vitality, hotel. Bring everything back online. I think they have a lot of work to do to get it in that shape. Our police department responded to a call there about 2 weeks ago and had to, within 5 minutes, give or take, of being inside, had to leave because of breathing issues, mold, just not great conditions inside. So I'm curious as to the workers that are in there and what they're experiencing. But we have reached out to the property manager twice and have asked, we'd like to set up an on-site meeting and allow an inspection. It is due for its fire safety inspection, and this is the reason why, sharing with them what happened with our police officers that were in there. But I mean, it is a step in the right direction. They're doing work and they resumed cutting their own grass. So I'll take that as a win for now. Primo Hoagie's opened at the block. So
9 o'clock today.
if you're one of the first ones there, you will get
I'll wait till tomorrow.
a free sandwich. I think it's the first 100 people. I know a lot of people have been anticipating that, so I might have to do a future staff meeting with lunch with Primo Hoagie so we can taste test everything and let you know how it is. Otherwise, I've not heard any more information on 1714 State Hall Road, which is the Berkshire Diner and a potential plan coming through for redevelopment of that site. Which again, I think what we're all hearing, anyone that's kind of in the economic development world, is interest rates, construction costs, everything's kind of at a standstill right now. So, and even I talked to George Hames from Equus 2 or 3 weeks ago. He said they're even in that position, that any of the residential projects they're just kind of sitting on until interest rates drop and inflation kind of cools off. So that's all I have, unless anybody has other
So
questions.
the former Heck Brothers site is, what's the,
Murphy Jewelers got special exception approval last week from the zoning hearing board.
so they did get the approval?
Yes, yes.
Not surprised, but good.
Nothing special about a special exception.
So what is their anticipated timeline?
I would expect end of year. It sounds like they're gonna make some pretty significant interior alterations and maybe some facade alterations.
So we don't have a estimate. It sounds like something maybe for the fall.
I would expect end of year.
Say that again?
End of year.
And
Yeah.
What is it?
Murphy Jewelers,
they're
high-end jeweler.
quote unquote high-end. Cool.
So, question. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to get off the soapbox about Berkshire Mall, since we've got something going on now. But now I've got a new soapbox I can start on. And with Vitality, can we either, coax them along or try to convince them or people at the old Inn at Reading that we really need to have another grand ballroom, a function area. There's only one in Reading.
My understanding is they're bringing Radisson, Crown Plaza, Sheraton, whatever you want to call it, when it comes back online, the banquet facilities are part of that.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be Vitality?
Well, it's, the name of the hotel is Reading Vitality.
Okay. but it's not gonna be under the, okay, I understand what you're saying. That'd be wonderful. This area is hurt. One other question. Where do we, is there still a, what is it, Pennsylvania Americana? Do
Yeah,
we still have such a place around here?
the Visitors Bureau,
Yeah.
yes, Crystal Sight's retired, but she
Right.
apparently does not do well at retiring because she is still on in a part-time capacity. She's actually been feeding me some intel on the Radisson, so she was very helpful. She is gonna stay on, like I said, I was gonna invite her maybe towards the end of the summer, early fall, to give an update on just everything going on, but the hotel tax is still doing well, but yes, they exist, they're still doing marketing.
They are.
She's my 9:30 today.
Yeah.
She was my main reference when I applied for the job.
Tell her I said hi.
Yeah, they had a board meeting last week. I couldn't make it, but I'm meeting her and the new executive director, Heather. I'm meeting them at 9:30 at Bolt, so, okay.
I know we're still a paying member, but I was just wondering what we're getting for our buck.
We actually, you don't pay. The revenues collected off the hotel tax that people come and stay in the hotels and they pay an extra percentage above, that tax goes directly to Pennsylvania Americana that they then use towards marketing.
In order to enable that, Bill, we had to pass
An ordinance.
an
An ordinance.
That was an ordinance, in order to facilitate that. And-
No, I recall that, but I thought we had,
and
we
that-
also
that's what funds
had a budgeted line item
Yep.
on that. Great.
The State Hill Road corridor, have we heard anything further from PennDOT? They were gonna massage their plans after the feedback from the public meeting and stuff. Nothing new there. So as far as I know, it's still, the first section of it is slated to consider construction in '26. So hopefully that continues, and at the, sorry to be random here, but at the Berkshire Mall, my understanding is that the potential for a Wawa in the corner where the mobile gas station had been is back on the table.
Correct.
The new developers are well aware of it and supportive.
Well, it's the same developer.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the developers for the mall are well
Yes,
aware of
yes.
what's going on in the corner.
Yes,
And
Is there enough room there with the
yes,
circle?
yes. I gave the developer behind the Wawa project, I had sent them the actual survey plans from PennDOT showing area of right of way that they needed to take. They reconfigured it, they had to talk to Boscov's to make sure they could slide everything back, which was gonna encroach into Boscov's parking field, but at the end of the day, everybody was fine with it, so. it's
And is
definitely-
it still the two sites, the Chipotle as well? or-
I believe so, though I don't know that Chipotle is still going to be a tenant of the other site. I mean, yes, preferable to them to have the two pad sites, not the one, just for obvious income reasons. I don't know that because the timing has now continued to shift, if that is gonna affect Chipotle wanting to be a part of it, but I'm sure they would pretty easily be able to find another tenant there.
The Outback Steakhouse that had been in the Berkshire Mall West forever, is now in a freestanding place over at Broadcasting Square. Have we heard anything about another use of the space?
I talked to Joe Nasty late April. He's the property manager from Allied. He still operates the Berkshire. He operated the Berkshire Mall when Allied owned both. He did not seem concerned at all. He had indicated that they had a few potential retailers that were open or were interested in opening there. I think they were just taking their time to allow the lease to run out, get Outback out of there, and then move forward. So hopefully we'll see a building permit for fit out in the next 2 to 4 months.
Do we hear anything at all from I know it's actually a condo, but I don't remember what it's called, but the center where Old Navy is and so
No.
on. We had changed the parking requirements from 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet to 4 in order to try to facilitate somebody using these big areas of blacktop without enough, the cars on. that front end, I just begs something, a restaurant or whatever. There's never cars parked there. I know that some of the owners of the spaces where Old Navy and so on now are, pushed back that it blocked the view of the front of their store or something, which every time I drive by there, I think that's nonsense. I mean, there's an elevation and stuff. I mean, that's just not legit. And I can't imagine that. I guess is it a condo association that owns it or whatever?
It is a condo and they're almost impossible to get a hold of. And they definitely don't reach out voluntarily. It's Woodmill Commons is what it's
Yeah,
under.
Woodmill, right. It just seems like a wasted opportunity.
Fred, with all the things we have on the table, everything we're doing, I still believe strongly that the roundabouts need to be sort of a recurring nightmare for PennDOT that comes from us. Like every month, we should send them a letter updating our reluctance and our unhappiness with them putting roundabouts at the corner of Penn Avenue and State Road. And I think, so they mentioned it, so it's not as though I dreamt it. They said there may be a problem with the house on the corner, the green house. They said it might be subject to historical registry.
It's not. It's
Well,
not. Their PHMC report came back. There's no historic value to it.
What came back?
Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission, or commission, I guess it just is commission, PHMC. So if you're developing, there's multiple reports that you have to file and do searches with the state. There's PNDI, which is Pennsylvania Natural Diversity Inventory, so that's bog turtles, red-bellied newts. And then there's PHMC, which is you submit, it's like GPS coordinates, and it's a 2-page
So who submitted that?
PennDOT.
Well, maybe these guys might submit their own version. It'd be a little more.
But no, what I'm saying is PennDOT submits it to the state of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. They then get the results back from that, which are, in this case, there's no historical significance for Wyomissing Boulevard.
Well, my point is that PennDOT doesn't own 4 Wyomissing Boulevard. People that own it might have some way to talk to the historical people or see if there's a picture of Abraham Lincoln in there that's been there for 100 years or something that would encourage them to push this issue. Because PennDOT wants the answer that it's useless, we can tear it down. We'd like the answer that no, you can't because Abraham Lincoln slept here or something. And those
I spoke to
guys,
Fred Knight, who grew up in that house.
well, he's not there now.
And Fred said he knows that house had no significance.
Well, I don't,
My only point is, I don't think, if we wanna stop them from putting a roundabout there, we can't do nothing, we have to do something. So if we do nothing, they'll do whatever they wanna do. So if there's opportunities that we don't have to take, that somebody that lives there might want to take, then at least let them know that that's what we're talking about. They probably don't even know we're talking about it, sitting here, and have no idea this whole issue of the historical stuff. And we're talking about it like, well, PennDOT already told us you can't do it because they went and saw the historical people, and they got the answer they wanted from their brother organization that they can see across the street from Harrisburg that says you're good to go. I think we need to push back every month telling them no, 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 and see what they say, and not just wait until 2026 to say, well, we finished 3, now we're gonna do the other 2, and then start up again.
so none of the plans that I've seen have actually showed that house being touched. It's the
Yeah,
opposite corner
They're
where,
the ones that brought it up at the meeting.
The one with your hotel why?
no, actually 1201 to 1207 Penn Avenue, which is the front of Bell Tower. That's the only corner they're talking about touching.
They brought up the historical registry of that building, not me.
Well, they have to do PHMC hits on the 4 corners, because they're potentially taking right away from all 4 corners.
I
But-
understand, we're just going around in a circle. I think we should tell these 2 guys who live there, or 5 guys who lives there, this is what's happening on this corner possibly in 2 years, and pretty soon you may not be here, or you may be living in a roundabout. And tell them, this is what happened at the meeting, this is what they said, and maybe you want to talk to somebody, and maybe they'll just get an answer from the Historical Society that differs from the one that the guys that don't want to see that place there have gotten, that allows them to move it.
Well, that's phase 3.
Well, it's
And
phase
you know
1
when
now,
phase
Mike.
3 is gonna happen? None of us will be in the
My whole
room.
point is,
That's also
you sit here
respectfully
for 3
PennDOT's
years.
conversation to have, not ours.
What's
PennDOT
that?
would have that conversation with those owners.
Why? Why can't we have a conversation? If I was living there and I knew that maybe my house could not be torn down, or I wouldn't be looking at tractor trailers and 5 buses every 15 minutes, I would be making holy hell in Harrisburg. So we don't have to do it. We just have to tell these guys what may happen. Maybe it's in 3 years. If you don't want to do it, I'll knock on their door and tell them. But I just think they need to be aware of this, and we, as a borough that don't want it, can't just sit here for 3 years and say, well, I was on council 3 years ago and they didn't do anything and we didn't do anything. And PennDOT said, well, I guess we shut them up in April, so they're not talking to us anymore.
We don't have a definitive plan.
Our plan is, don't put a roundabout.
They have not created a plan for phase 3 yet.
They've already told us there's.
They
5.
told us there is something, but there is no plan,
No,
Ron.
wait, no, all right. Look,
Forget I said anything.
no, your comments are completely legitimate, it's just that we've notified PennDOT in writing that we're not in favor
Multiple times.
of a roundabout.
I just say
at-
do it every month,
Penn Avenue.
send them another letter.
So we have done that, I spoke to the one guy there at the public meeting myself. At this point, the PennDOT plans show Penn Avenue, and State Hill Road as being intersection improvements. They have not, as Bill just said, definitively done anything. We've notified them in writing that we don't think it's a good idea because of the elevation change and everything else. We don't want that. We don't want to lose any buildings or whatever. And they're, at this point, focused on the first phase, which goes from Spring Township down to the entrance to the Berkshire Mall.
I know the whole thing, the whole story. They haven't said anything, they haven't done anything yet, but the intention is to do it. And that's what they told us in the beginning. So our intention is to tell them every month, we don't want you to do it. And I'll send them a letter every month. Maybe we can do a round robin. Everybody in council sends them a letter every month.
You know,
Just to ignore
I remember speaking to them at the meeting, to one of them, I don't remember who exactly, and the conversation of Bell Tower. I mean, you would destroy that whole business if you put a roundabout in there, and that's of concern to them. You know, that would be an issue. So I believe that they are thinking more towards, and they've mentioned more towards traffic improvements, traffic light improvements, versus a roundabout there. But, I mean, yeah, we don't know what they're gonna do, but.
That's also gonna significantly impact their project cost. I mean, if they put the roundabout in between eminent domain,
Yeah, the amount they're gonna have
acquisition,
to pay.
demolition, that's significantly padding their budget.
Well, money doesn't seem to be an issue with the Department of whatever in Harrisburg, they spend it whatever they want. So my only point is, if we annoy them regularly and not wait for them to send us a letter saying, guess what we were doing last Saturday? We were talking about Wyomissing. We just thought we'd update you to let you guys know, don't have to worry about this and your property values and the whole thing that's going on here. They don't do that for a living. They build things for a living. We need to keep telling them and not wait until they've done the first 2 roundabouts, because those 2 are gonna be hell to start with. When you start doing odd stuff down there, we're gonna have people screaming and yelling about traffic and all that. We just need to stay on top of this. And it's not a big deal, just a letter that says, give us an update. If you don't have an update, send us a letter that says we don't have an update. We haven't decided what we're doing yet. Let them know we're there. I don't know why that's.
What about our political influence? Who
Well,
want
that
to
too. We have somebody comes in here, makes a speech every week about how they'll help us do everything. Tell her to give us an answer once a month when they come in here to to say, hello, I'm your state representative, and I'm your state senator, and I'll be at the Fourth of July parade. Let her tell us what she's doing about the roundabout. And every time you see her, she'll go the other way, or she'll say, I have an update on the roundabout. And we have to continue to bring that front and center, and not just wait for them to do it.
The hotel on the corner, the old Wyomissing Hotel, Wyomissing apartment, if it isn't registered historically, it should be.
There's a difference between something being registered historically and it actually being considered historic under the PHMC.
But
But
Michelle,
they're not talking
you're
about taking that.
Yeah, they're not talking about touching that.
But they're gonna take the $1,200 to put the road there.
Yeah.
Apparently it's shifted, or maybe because of
How
that,
Robbins is-
maybe it's because of the perceived historic significance of the old Wyomissing Hotel. But it's kind of shifted toward the west of it a little bit.
well, we get new information all the time. Thank you very much. That's
All right, well, we'll reach out to PennDOT and hope to get some sort of an update. They promise they will, but there's no harm in saying, we were talking about it, what's the latest? And see what they say.
Tell you it's gonna be that there's no update on phase 3.
Could be, but
But you
that's
should,
what,
you
but
should-
then you can also give us an update on phase 2.
but you should do it in writing.
Because I'm also concerned about Woodland Road and the buses that come out of the elementary schools
Absolutely.
navigating around that circle.
Absolutely.
Is of concern as well, so there are multiple issues, so let's just ask for
And you
what's
have
the
the
latest
homeowner.
on State Hill Road.
That the homeowner there losing part of their property, and the business there losing part of their property.
But if we're gonna
Do
communicate
you
with
have to know
them,
when girls opening?
At the shops that are missing, I don't. I would expect in the next 2 months, give or take.
it should be in writing, it shouldn't be a phone call. So that way, if they want to annoy us, they can annoy us in writing. And if they don't annoy us, maybe we'll say something nice.
We'll reach out to them. Is there any other business to come before us today?
No, because it's not on the agenda.
Then we shall adjourn. Thank you.
Please don't personalize it.